Hello and welcome to another episode of UpGrade with Maria Kay, the podcast where your success, freedom and happiness get a weekly boost. I'm Maria Kay and I help people all over the world convert their dreams into their reality. And I'm currently here in Goa today with the amazing Juliette, who is a conscious nutritionist, superfood chef, author and presenter, and a very, very good friend too. Welcome, Juliette.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yeah, we've been organising this for a while and we're making it happen today. So we're just going to kick straight off with just getting an insight from you, Juliette. Why do you do what you do?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, really why I do what I do is because I have seen the effects and the power of nutrition on people's healths, on being able to transform it. But it's also more than just nutrition. You know, it's about what we think when we eat. It's about what we think when we make our food. It's about where our food comes from. There's a whole process that goes with nutrition. And I grew up, when I was young, my mum was terminally ill from when I was 8. And I saw how food could really affect her. And that was really the beginning of my journey. So yeah, my mission is really to empower people, to show them it doesn't have to be complicated, you know, to be really healthy. You can enjoy yourself, eat amazing food and thrive.
Absolutely. I've eaten your food, so I know all about that. So today's topic is really all about conscious nutrition to assist in our upgrade, on our upgrade journey or our ascension or our rising. And I really want us to be able to give to our audience and our listeners today an insight as you've already mentioned, how it doesn't have to be that complicated or that serious. So let's start off by sharing what you would normally start with a client. If a client was to come to you with maybe an issue, an ailment, or even just the search for support in their daily life through nutrition, what would you normally start with?
It's a really good question. So we always start with a chat because it's really important to understand where someone's coming from. And a lot of my work, yes, it comes from the background of training scientifically, but it also comes from my intuition. And this is a key part for everyone, is really tuning into your intuition, because you know exactly what is right for you. I know what is exactly right for me. It may get a bit lost in interpretation. And what I feel my job is to do is to help someone to really understand how to get to that point. You know, to get to the point where they can hear their inner voice, because they've cleared out the rest of the garbage. Because what happens in our daily life, it's like we're a cup and we get filled up. This cup is originally empty. We get filled up with toxins. We get filled up with sugars, with processed foods, with all this stuff. And then when we want to put the good stuff in, what happens is our cup is full. Not with what we want, but filled just because of life. And so the key is to start getting rid of this stuff in the cup so that then the good stuff can make its way in. So when I'm working with someone, I always start off by looking at their gut. What is happening in the gut? Because the gut is the key to so many things. You know, 80% of our dopamine and our serotonin and our opiates, the things that make us feel good and happy, are created in our gut, not in our mind, in our gut. And the research now, which is remarkable, shows that the gut really is our second brain. So have you ever had a sugar craving?
All the time. Not so much recently, and we'll get to that in a second.
So what happens with the sugar cravings, it's really interesting, and this is something that I find is a really good tool to explain to someone, because then you can start to take control of your health a little bit better. Is inside our gut we have millions of different bacteria, good and bad, and we need both good and bad, but we need them in the right proportion. So what happens is that when we have too many bad bacteria, or when we have parasites in our gut, little critters stealing our nutrients, they thrive off of sugars, carbohydrates like pasta and bread and all these things. This is what they really want. So when these aren't being fed, or when they're starting to get a little bit hungry, they go, feed me. It's like Little Shop of Horrors, you know, feed me, Seymour, feed me. So they send this message up to our brain, I want something sweet. And we go, oh, you know what? I really fancy something sweet. But that's not us talking. That is, as I said, these things inside our gut. So once I realise that, and once I explain that to people, you can kind of go, oh, hang on, that sweet craving isn't me talking. That's someone else, another being inside my body communicating through me. Whoa, hang on, I'm not in control of my thoughts. You know, when you start to think that, it's something else thinking through you. That makes me go, I don't want to give in to that.
So in essence, from the outset, you are teaching people to take control, take back their power, which is what we're all about in my network, as you guys know. Watching videos and listening to my work, it's all about self-empowerment. And as you've already mentioned, the fact of going deeper inside to reconnect with what we already know when we're born.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've watched children, and I've studied, you know, children's behaviour, and through my children, bringing them up over a period of time, you'll notice they'll balance it out. And if they are more inclined to opt for protein, and that's what their body needs. If they're more inclined to opt for carbs, it's what their body needs. So it's kind of a process of reconnecting.
Exactly.
Which is what we do on a conscious level for the mind and body and the soul, but you're doing it through nutrition.
But, you know, like with children, it's a really good point, because you see them as they get older, they start to go for more of these sugary things, because what's happening is, if we're not actively putting in those good bacteria and monitoring what's going on inside their gut, these bad bacteria start to take over. So then their choices, it's like my littlest one, it's amazing, because he will suddenly crave blueberries, and he'll eat tons and tons of blueberries, and then he'll get bored and not want any blueberries, just when you've usually bought like a huge amount of them. It's like, no, that food's gone, on to the next thing, and then it's raspberries, and then it's mangoes at the moment, you know, and coconut. But as the bacteria changes, that voice of actually what you need gets muted down. So it's about, as you said, it's about really going deep in you and creating that sense of a really fertile space within your core. You know, energetically, this is our center. And if this center isn't balanced, how is your energetic body going to be balanced as well? You know, quite often I find that spiritual people and energetic light workers and people like that, like myself and you, when we're working with energy a lot, sometimes we forget that we're in this physical body, and that this physical body reflects what's happening also out here. So if we have parasites, usually what I find is there's parasitic energy in our field.
That's interesting.
You know, so there are correlations between this energetic and the physical, but we are manifesting this physical being. And this is a really big part of what I'm working with at the moment. You know, as these new vibrations are coming onto the planet, as we are meant to do more work and achieve more, if we physically don't have the right vibration, like if we haven't raised our vibration physically, we can pull this energy in for a while, and then what happens is we burn out.
Absolutely, yeah. And I've experienced that recently. I'm going to share that, as you said, as we are being called forward to rise up and upgrade, which watching this or listening to this, you probably are too, we are forced to upgrade physically as well. And I have to share that my time in India this time round has been a lot of that. You may have noticed my absence for a while, and I've allowed and I've accepted with grace. I've had to call on the support of my good friend. It's a very interesting process, but it really highlights the absolute connection between mind, body, and soul. And there will be times when it's more about the evolving soul. There will be times where it's more about the evolving mind. But there are definite times where it's about the evolving body. And it really pays off to do your homework and to accept that, I think.
And it doesn't mean that you have to be boring. You know, so many people think, oh God, but if I start like cutting out these things and being really healthy, then I'm just going to live on rabbit food and I'm not going to be able to go out and have fun, and people will think I'm boring. But it doesn't have to be like that. You know, some of my favourite things are really high vibration foods that make me feel great, you know, really amazing.
Tell us about high vibration foods.
Okay, so my number one hybrid, well, I've got a few of them actually, is cacao. And over here, we are so blessed that there is an amazing, amazing spice farm that grows cacao, which is chocolate, but not roasted. So chocolate in its pure form. And I had the most amazing heart-opening experience. I've been eating raw chocolate for years and making it and teaching it and working with it a lot, but I'd never had it in its form straight off the tree. So every time we'd come to India, they were never ready because we always left beforehand. Anyway, this year, by some fluke, we went to Tanshika, and the owner, Chinmay, who is beautiful, said, Juliette, come look. And he picked off this ripe cacao pod off the tree and he cracked it open in front of me. And it was like one of those holy grail moments, you know, the light shone out of it and it was like the heavens opened up and there was, this heavenly host sounded out. And this beautiful light came out of it, and I was in awe. I was like, oh my God,
I need some of that now.
And I tried it, and I'd never eaten it just fresh. And in order to get the real chocolate taste, it has to be fermented. But what's covering the cacao beans is this beautiful sweet white flesh, which is a bit like a mixture between mango and lychee. So you suck off this flesh and then you bite into this cacao bean, which tastes mildly of chocolate, but very mild. But what it did to me was, for the next few days, my heart was so open, and it was like someone had just opened up my eyes and switched on the light. And I live on high vibration food. You know, I'm quite a clear person, but this just elevated me to a whole new level.
As I say, there is always room for more.
Oh, God,
we never get it done. No, we never, ever get it done. So, okay, just share with us one more high vibration food.
So cacao's one of them. My second one that I would have to have up there is reishi mushroom. I mean, reishi is a tree bracket mushroom, so it grows like a flying saucer coming off a tree. And it's bright red, it does look like something from outer space. And, you know, all of the tree bracket mushrooms are very, very special mushrooms. And the power that they've got in them to transform the human body is unbelievable. You know, I think that all the ancient people were definitely using these medicinal mushrooms because they fight cancer, they give you more energy, they support your adrenals, they support your whole hormonal system, they clear out bad estrogens. I mean, the list is literally never ending of what the medicinal mushrooms do. And if you want to really upgrade your system, you need to start working with these mushrooms because they will transform your entire being.
As you say, upgrading is what we're here to do. And it's not really about getting sucked into, as you already mentioned, an obsessive, a sort of heavy, boring way of, living. So I'm feeling that it's very individual to every single person. Definitely. And I've seen it from myself. Since I sort of was struck with the dreaded parasites, and after having some time with you and some rehabilitation time as well, I started to kind of, step back a little bit and just relax a little bit and just go with the flow, as I've always done, really, after many years of crazy with my body and food. But after settling into kind of an intuitive way of eating and living, I sort of, step back into that. And I found that my body was leading me to exactly, for example, pomegranates. We had this big conversation, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because I didn't know that, they're exactly what I was needing at the time. Although I do, it's nice to have the confirmation. So, it doesn't have to be, reading from a list or being, extremely rigid and never having fun or enjoying food. We're supposed to feel good.
Yeah.
We're here on this planet to feel good. So really maybe taking a step back and dropping that kind of preconceived idea that if I take care of my body, if I declare that I'm going to put my body first, it's going to be a struggle, or it's going to be hard, or maybe it's going to be expensive or time consuming, or I won't have the same amount of time to take care of the family or to work, or it's going to eat into life. So really, this is where our mindset comes in, changing our belief system around that, and maybe doing a bit of pre-research so that when we do go into it, we've balanced, you know, the desire to feel better and to have a supportive physical system with actually making that decision.
And I think, you know, what you said is really true. I think part of it for me is it's baby steps as well. You know, if you introduce into your life a green smoothie every morning, okay, a green smoothie takes literally 2 minutes to make, if that. It's the quickest breakfast you could ever have. Much quicker than having toast, much quicker than a bowl of cereal, all of which will lower your energy. If you start your day with a green smoothie, chuck it all in the blender, whiz it up, and you drink it. What this is going to do is this is going to start to elevate your energy levels. And then once you feel good having that, you'll go, oh, you know what, actually, if I have the toast, I feel heavy and slow. But, you know, it's like coffee. I don't know if you've ever done this, where you drink coffee for a while and you don't notice its effects, but you still have to have your coffee. But then when you stop drinking coffee and you have that coffee again, you go, oh God, I feel really weird, and it makes you a bit jittery, and you work through it and you move through it, and then it becomes normalised again. Well, this is the same with all foods in our system. Like, if we can get rid of something for a short period, we allow our body to then feel what actually that food is doing to us. And that's when we can start making these intelligent decisions. It's like pizza. I love pizza. Do you know, I'm part Italian, so like pizza has always been something that I love, all Italian food. But I started to notice I wasn't feeling good when I ate pizza. So I started to then, I don't have dairy now, so I was having pizza without dairy, but then I still wasn't feeling good. So I was like, well, what's going on? Ultimately, it was the wheat that wasn't agreeing with me. So I was cutting out wheat, but I would still have the occasional pizza. But every time I'd feel like crap, to be honest. It was like... And then I think, really, is it worth it? Is this like moment of like, oh, this is really nice, worth then feeling really heavy and rubbish? And I got to the realisation, no, it wasn't worth it. So then I started finding other ways. So I'd make a nice quinoa-based pizza, or I'd make a buckwheat sprouted pizza base. Playing around so I could still get the pizza, but without the bit that was causing me the trouble. And when we first came to India, I hadn't eaten any gluten for a while. And instantly I went, oh, pizza, because there's a really nice pizza place here. So after a bit, I thought, oh, come on, let's just go and have one. And it was lovely to eat, but then it was that realisation, I don't want to do this. I don't want to put my body into this position. But we have to break down the romanticism of it all. But also, as you said, we can't be too rigid. It's like, if you crave something, like, listen to, why am I craving it? Think about it. Is this me craving it? Is this the parasites? Like, is there something that my body's needing? Or is this, like, just a romantic thing I want?
Yeah, it's very important at that point. And I think this also translates into our UpGrade journey in general. See, I get a lot of my clients and students say, and it happens to me, and maybe it happens to you as well, where we get a bit kind of ego-led. Why do I have to spend all this time meditating? Oh, I've got to do the yoga class again. and it's kind of like this push-pull battle. And I'm feeling that it translates into diet, and I know it does for me as well. And it's kind of that teenage temper tantrum.
That's exactly right.
Right? Yeah. And I have to, you know, say it really clearly to my clients a lot. What is more important? And it's about working backwards. So we set our goals, we connect with our heart's desire, with our vision, with our purpose. And we get really clear on that. And like you've just described, you've gotten really clear on that you don't want to feel like that.
Exactly.
So once we've gotten clear on that, it's then time to work backwards. So in that middle part, what do I need to do?
Yeah.
So we start at the end, the result, where you want to be in 12 months, in 15 months, in 16 months, 24. We look at how we've got to get there, but first of all, we must look at where we are now.
Exactly.
And then take those steps. And as you say, it's baby steps. It's not all going to get done in one day.
It isn't.
And this is where we all fall down. We think, you know, we're Superman and Superwoman and that we've got to do it all in one day. Absolutely not. But it's really useful to maybe incorporate it into your daily practice and start to address, explore, go deep into the whys and the hows, and why am I so attached to chocolate? What was it perhaps when I was a child that has me feeling that if I don't have chocolate, that might, you know, I'm not going to be able to feel good, or I'm not going to be able to do X, Y, Z.
Although on the chocolate, that's a really good one that you
Depends
brought
what
up.
chocolate.
Because a lot of people are craving chocolate because actually raw chocolate is the most bioavailable source of magnesium. And on this planet, 75% approximately of people are deficient in magnesium. Huge amount of the population. So people are generally craving chocolate because they need the magnesium, but they're not eating the right chocolate. So you eat your bar, you buy your, I've done this a few times, not recently, luckily, since I found raw chocolate, but you buy your big Galaxy bar or whatever it is. I'm just going to have a square.
Right.
Yeah, you eat your one square and then you put it down. That's it. And then like 5 minutes later, if that long, you're like, just one more. Oh, just one more. And before you know it, you've devoured this whole massive bar and you're sitting there going, oh, my head hurts. Oh, I feel sick 'cause I've just gorged on chocolate. But why you keep going back for it is because your body's going, I know that in this chocolate, there should be 360 different chemicals and minerals, one of which is magnesium. Also, serotonin, all these things to help me feel good. And that's why I want it. But I'm not getting it from this piece. So if I have another piece, maybe I'll get it. Maybe I'll get it. And then you get to a point where you haven't nutritionally filled yourself, but you're full. Because you've filled up on all the rubbish. It's these empty food.
It's interesting though, if we apply that to life in general as well. Yeah, that's an interesting point there, guys. So, go get your raw cacao, right?
Yeah, because then what happens is you have that one bit of it and your body goes, well, maybe I'll have one more. But then you're satisfied nutritionally. And it's the key that we need to be having is a minimum optimum diet. So we eat the least amount of food but get the most amount of nutrients from it.
And that's important for our journeys in general. How are we spending our time? What are we putting into what are we watching? What are we reading?
Yeah.
Right? So, this is it all crosses over. It
does, definitely.
These theories and these insights that Juliette and I are sharing right now that we've developed through our studies, through our own spiritual journeys, just being here in India alone is a journey in and of itself, right?
Yeah.
So becoming really present as to, and this is a question that I always share and encourage, and that is, when we're faced with the opportunity to make a decision, whether it's to do with life, upgrade, a relationship, money, what we put in our bodies, what we're looking at, watching, how we're spending our time. And it's a very simple but powerful question. Will I feel empowered or disempowered? Right? And I want you to just sit with that for a second and really take that on board and give that a gift to yourself. Will I feel empowered or disempowered? Because if we make a decision that helps us feel empowered, the only way is up. Yeah. If we make a decision that makes us feel disempowered, it's so easy to downward spiral. So, and the short, sharp, sort of minimal viewpoint that you talk about with diet is also applicable to your spiritual journey and your daily practice. In my membership, UpGrade membership program at the moment, the focus this month is all about your daily upgrade practice, DUP we call it. So, and it doesn't have to be 3 hours long. It doesn't have to be long-winded. It doesn't have to eat into your day or your weekend. It really can just be 30 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes in the evening, and it is very tailored to you. Very tailored to
and
you.
I think, a lot of the work I do, the one-to-one things, I use muscle testing to find out exactly what a person needs. It's like, do I need to be 50% more, 60% more, 70% more? What is my journey? What is the path that I need to be on? Because as you said before, your journey is very different from mine food-wise, to some extent.
Yeah.
And what someone else can eat is very, very different, the steps they need to take, because we are all on this different parameter. But you mentioned a good point about television and what am I thinking? And this is something that's so important. If you're making food, especially if you're making stuff that's high vibration food and raw food and things like this, your thoughts as you're making that food go into the food and it goes into our body. As Emoto said, with his water studies, he looked at the pictures of the water, and if you said love and gratitude to the water was the most beautiful pattern ever. Whereas if you said hate to it, you got this really horrible, chaotic, dispersed energy. And it's the same with when we're preparing food. It's like, what are we putting into it? Am I stressed? Am I stirring it and putting in angst?
Yeah.
Or am I making it with love so that then I'm feeding myself that love?
A brilliant point. And for clients that I've worked with who have wanted some nutritional support and guidance, because I have a very small background in that, I would always say, and I'm not sure if you agree with this, let's see, that I would much rather you go to the supermarket and buy semi-prepared food. Like, you know, in many countries now you can get kind of lightly sliced vegetables or diced things that are kind of what I would say the most genius convenience foods out there, because there are a lot, rather than kill yourself preparing food from scratch, perhaps, that you're begrudging, that you don't have time for, that you're, you know, as you say, you're stirring and you're angry and you're cooking for the family and you're begrudging them because you know they're all sitting there watching TV and so it is really a lot, as you say, about our attitudes and our thoughts around that meal, right? So it's very much about the balance.
It is. I mean, obviously, if you can get fresh stuff, it's better because it's high in nutrition. But if the energy you're going to be preparing it with isn't loving, then go for what's going to help you to make things simpler. Definitely. But, you know, people quite often say, eating healthily is going to take me a really long time. But it really doesn't have to. I can knock up meals so quickly that are super, super healthy. It's about the mindset, and it's also about knowing what to do. You know, that's why I love putting recipes onto my blog, and everything I try and do is really simple and easy. You know, raw cakes. I mean, I love sweet things. You know, I love having things that are decadent and delicious, and you know, I love that side of life. You know, I think I'm quite a decadent person in good ways, but you know, I like to feel luxurious, and I like to eat things that really stimulate my being. So, like having a raw cake, you don't have to bake. I was never good at baking. Like, I've never been good at baking, but blending stuff and then sticking it in a thing and pressing it down into a pan.
That's your secret.
no one can not make that well. Honestly, it's like the simplest thing in the entire world. So everyone can become the most amazing chefs with really little practice. So it doesn't have to be complicated, you know.
And I always say that actually going into the kitchen and taking, whether it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or even a whole afternoon, whatever you've got available to you and whatever you want, and preparing a meal for yourself and your family, or for yourself first and foremost, is actually one of the biggest acts of self-love.
Definitely.
And you know what? We all need to love more ourselves first and foremost, because it is either fear or love that we're coming from on this journey, right? And if we can dedicate just a small portion of our day to, as you say, feeding our body high vibrational foods, then as we move up the scale, as you continue, because you know what, let's be really real, life isn't easy. And if you haven't already done so, pop back over to the podcast library, and there is a whole podcast on the truth about your upgrade journey, the truth that not many people like you and I talk about, the dark moments, the struggles, if we push and pull, you know, if we kind of resist, the things that never go our way, the things that we don't want to happen, but will, because we're here on a soul journey, right? And the more important your journey, your work on this planet, probably the more struggles there'll be. And that's just part and parcel of the truth. So love is one of the most powerful things that you can infuse on a daily basis, and if you can do that through physical connection, through relationship connection, through community connection, you can do that with your time and your energy, but also with your food, right? It really is like being halfway there.
Because if you eat food, I mean, it's such an important thing. If you can eat food that is made with love by yourself, you are nurturing yourself. You know, it's coming from the Mother Earth, who is nurturing you through these foods. And, you know, food can really lower us and make us feel angry and aggressive, or it can heighten us. And it's so important to think, you know, sometimes I notice it. It's like I get this knot in my stomach, and it's like, well, where's this come from? Have I eaten something? And it's usually I've eaten something that maybe I've been out and I've eaten something. It's like, well, what was the chef thinking when that was made, you know? Was there anger around there? Because you can feel into it. Is this anger mine, or is this from somewhere else? And usually it's from somewhere else, and we've pulled it in, especially if we're sensitive people, you know. So it's about really getting clear with what's going on around you, you know, being conscious about everything, your thoughts when you're eating, where the food's coming from. You know, there's nothing better than going into a garden or going somewhere and picking something fresh and eating it, because there's no pollution. There's only the earth and you know.
Very powerful. So just before we finish, Juliette, where can people find you?
So I'm on www.julietteskitchen.tv, and really excitingly, my new book is going to be out in the next month called Transformative Health. So it's a really in-depth 12 parts journey to exploring a lot of what we've been talking about in great detail, so you can really transform your health and your vibration.
Yeah, you're important. You're really, really important, and if you can take, you know, a small percentage of your day and feed your body well, then that's giving one of the biggest gifts, I think, to yourself and those around you as well, because it's not always about you. It's not always about you or me. It's about the work we're here to do on this planet, right?
Exactly.
So, well, it's been amazing.
It's been so lovely.
So.